I learned about this guy here, Dan Wootton, from following Deppman Heard. And you probably know Dan wrote not nice things about Johnny in The Sun. False allegations, in fact. But now, Dan's got allegations out against him. The main people who are putting the info out are the Byline Times. But for about the last 10 days or so, we haven't heard from them. So some people got a little worried and skeptical that this whole thing is just going to go away and fizzle, maybe because of some powers that be. We're not sure. But that's not the case, because this here's from August 18th, 2023, and I gotta say, I'm very happy to see it. The title is The Media Scandal the Media Didn't Want to Touch. Byline Times will keep exposing the dark forces in the shadow. So it seems like they're set on doing what they feel is right, and whatever happens, happens. Let's see what we got. Exposing the Dan Wootton scandal was a long time in the making. The TV presenter's behavior, like much else, has been an open secret in the established media for some years. But unlike some other big names in his profession, the press wasn't willing to go near his story. It still isn't. Why? Great question. Well, some have. The Independent and the Guardian aren't exactly nobodies, but I know what he means. He means the widespread media. The reaction to our revelations about Dan Wootton's catfishing tactics, which he used to trick and bribe men into providing sexually compromising material, has reaffirmed to me why the Byline Times was so badly needed. Without fear or favor and funded by our readers, for us, this investigation has never been about personalities, politics, score settling, or our own private interests. It's about forces that shape us, including one of the most powerful, the established media. How does wrongdoing thrive in institutions that set themselves up as society's moral arbiters? And what are the structural and political factors that explain why these moral arbiters refuse to hold themselves to account? Why has the Dan Wootton scandal been published by a small, independent, reader-funded newspaper at our own considerable risk when major media outlets have the resources and reach at their disposal for exactly this sort of work? Those are the questions we all need to ask. Now, they've said things like this in the past, but they danced around the answer a little bit. So let's see if they got more. Wootton's career has taken him inside the newsrooms of the country's most powerful tabloids and given him privileged access to celebrity, monarchy, and scandal. It is in the public interest to expose how he's used his power and influence and how his behavior has impacted the individuals he targeted, as well as contributing to a wider toxic media culture. And we know one of those individuals was Johnny. And that's one reason we're here. That's one reason I don't think many of us are going to let this fizzle and go away the same way, let's say, Vin Diesel's case might fizzle, Brad Pitt's case might fizzle. It's just not the same. Sorry to say, Dan, but we're following this one through till the end. The editor says, obviously, legal threats have had a chilling effect. I'm sure they're worried about that. But if Dan sues them, it'll just get bigger. In that case, probably someone will live stream it. It's going to get hundreds of thousands of views, maybe millions, and it'll be picked up by the media. So if Dan does sue them, it kind of seems like a lose-lose situation for him, assuming no interference happens by outside sources. They go on to say that Wootton dismissed them as a hard-left blog, but their counterpoint was they've got people on both sides writing for them. I'm not sure if it's true, but so far, I don't have a way to say this is political. It seems like they're laser-focused on the allegations and what Dan did in the past, and I haven't heard a mention of politics in any way whatsoever. When I'm not talking about celebrity news and stuff, I follow politics. I'm pretty sensitive towards it. And my senses are just telling me this doesn't feel political. In this rare case, when most things are, this just doesn't seem it. The co-founder of the paper, Peter Jukes, says there's a key problem with other news organizations and senior executives who are not covering this. Once again, he says legal threats are obstacles, which I'm sure for them, it's not too pretty. I mean, I could be optimistic and say it'll get bigger and this and that, and it might, but they probably don't actually assess it the way I can comfortably from the outside. They said they were attacked by hackers at one point, I'm sure that probably happened. They said Dan Wootton denounced them as dark forces, which no one took very seriously because they write pretty fine-tuned articles. They're well-spoken. They don't seem like a dark force to many people. And they end with this. Wooten's story then is both personal and political. Psychologically, it invokes issues of identity and self-knowledge of the way we all have different characteristics and personas and how they can clash and split apart in sometimes dangerous ways if they do not speak to each other and integrate. So, okay, to make something clear, because the wording might get a little bit lost here, they're not saying the story isn't political in some ways, but they're saying the attack isn't political like the left attacking the right. They reassure us the Byline Times will continue, and they thank all their readers and subscribers. And they thank the two former colleagues of Dan Evans and Tom Latcham, because they're the main guys writing, but this article happened to be by the editor. His name's Hardy Mothrow. If I'm reading that right, probably not. Apologies, my friend. So that's it. No new development on details about Dan and the actual situation, but a nice update on where their mindset's at and that they will keep going. Because like I said, it was almost 2 weeks and we didn't hear from them. If you're not subscribed here, consider it. If you don't, I'll be sad about it, but I'll get over it. See you next time. I've been following this guy. No, I've been following Depp and Heard, not Dan Wootton, take 4. And Dan Wootton, kind of, take 5. I've been following this guy. Same mistake. I've been following Depp and Heard for quite a while now, and I learned about this guy, Dan Wootton, through following Depp and Heard, which I said, God damn it, twice. I learned about this guy here, Dan Wootton, from following Depp and Heard. And as you probably know, Dan wrote not such nice things. I've been following this guy. No. I've been following Depp and Heard. I learned about this guy here, Dan Wootton, from following. I learned about this guy here. I learned I'm wearing green.